And yes, it's the top of the hour, so let's give it a few seconds extra just in case. But I know the exam period started, and some people might be already taking the exam. It's unbelievable. The 6 weeks fly by.
Yeah.
And it's the last session today. I can't believe it.
May I ask a question, or maybe Lydia, you can respond to me online. I signed up for the exam and I thought I was signing up at a testing center, but Lydia has told me that I signed up for some kind of strange where I have to bring my own computer type thing. So I'm just a little confused.
So I'm not sure where the disconnect would have been, but when you sign up for an exam, you choose whether or not you want to take it via OnView, the remote testing service, which would be from your home or your office using your own computer, or if you want to take it at a testing center. So when you're taking it at a testing center, you would be choosing which testing center you want to take it at and then picking an appointment time there.
Which I did, or I thought I did. I signed up in San Mateo.
Interesting. Okay. I can always follow up with Pearson VUE, but let me Camilla, do you mind if I go over this quickly, sharing my own screen to show what the process typically looks like?
Please do. Yeah, it may be useful also for others.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So where I am now is on the page where you can go through a simulation of the scheduling process if you're not logged in. So this is basically a simulation of the scheduling process. It works the same for GCP or GLP, but what you'll see is how do you want to take your exam? And so you can either say, I want to take it in person at a test center or online with OnView. So if you select online with OnView, it will take you through this option, your computer, your testing space, photo ID, etc.
Yeah.
And then it'll take you, is this your preferred time zone? For me, yes, that's right. And then it will take you, it'll show you basically unlimited dates because there are basically unlimited dates for taking via OnView, which again is the testing service where you use your own computer and your own Wi-Fi. And again, that is not necessarily recommended by SQA, just because there's a higher incidence of issues with the exam when you're taking it with your own computer and your own Wi-Fi. There's more unexpected issues that can crop up. So alternatively, if you take it in person at a test center, it'll say, here's what the situation is. Then you enter your, pardon me, let's just say Charlottesville, which is where SQA headquarters and therefore myself am located. So I'll say this is the closest test center to me. I will find my potential appointment time. Maybe I'm interested in taking it on April 10th. I can see what times are available to me. I'm choosing, a time, and yes, unfortunately it won't let me schedule it because that's just a simulation. Let me see if I can log in.
Can it be changed for Verena if it was some kind of glitch?
Yes, if you schedule an appointment, let me go ahead and close this. It's not letting me log into my testing account right now.
Emails to look at my confirmation because I thought I had signed up for a Sunday, April 6th at a testing center in San Mateo. I went through the second process that you just explained.
Okay, and did you get a confirmation email that said San Mateo?
Yeah, I was just looking for, I thought I did. Thought it was all, Sunday, April 6th, check in at 10:45. Yeah, I can go back through my email and see what I can find. I can forward that to you. Sorry, I don't want to take up this time.
No problem. And just to say, but it is just to say, as Camilla asked, if you've made an appointment for OnView, that's the one where you take it with your own computer or your work computer, your office, what have you. That can be canceled up to 1 hour before your scheduled appointment time. If you have scheduled an appointment at a testing center, that can be canceled up to 24 hours before your scheduled appointment time. So if for any reason you need to cancel or you need to reschedule, there's no option to sort of reschedule directly. You would need to cancel and then make a new appointment. But Verena, I can follow up with your situation offline once this
we're
meeting
done.
is over.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll be in touch. Thank you. I appreciate the extra information.
No problem at all.
So I hope everything will work fine and there will be no kind of inconvenience or any difficulty. And actually, as Lydia said, it's better if you have a testing center that is not far away to go there. Because you may have some limitations. You never know, there might be interruption of the internet connection that happens even in very well-served areas. So just to be on the safe side.
Thank you.
And let's get started. Let me share my screen. Minimize this. My presentation mode. Just change. So welcome to this last study group meeting this spring. Quality management, assessment, analyzing, and evaluating. As I said, it's unbelievable. The 6 weeks passed before I could even imagine. We just started yesterday, and today is the last meeting. Again, the meeting recording will be available approximately 1 week after the meeting, and you can go back to the previous recordings that should be available with the handouts. And so if you want to go back to anything, if you want to, or if you had to leave earlier or couldn't attend and would like to go to the particular session, you can always do that. Let's talk again about the exam writing. This is the last time before your exam comes. So it starts today. The end time is 26th of April, 2025. There are 165 multiple choice questions. 15 are being validated, but you don't know which ones, I don't know which ones. So take every question seriously, thinking like this is a real test question. Don't try to speculate, maybe this is not enough. Maybe it is not, but maybe it is. You will have 3.5 hours, which sounds great, but this is just about 1.5 minutes per question. If you are not a native English speaker, you can consider purchasing for $50 additional time, 1 hour in the testing center, 2 hours if you are taking the exam online. We definitely recommend this. The cost is not extraordinary, and it may give you the comfort in case you stumble across a question, across a word. You think that I need to read it several times to be sure what it really means. If you don't use the whole hour, wonderful. But if you need it, you will have it. The practice exam is free of charge, as you know. It's a kind of aging, so don't take it as a representation for the real exam. It is not. The questions are easier, both for GLP and for GCP. Most of the times with just common sense, simple logic, you will get everything correct. But it does not mean that equally easy it will be when you go to the real exam. And if you read the testimonials of your colleagues who took the exam before you, many of them say, this is a very different experience from the practice question. So take the practice question just for the feel of being paced, of having time to respond, to enter all your answers. The timing is approximately same as in the real exam. but the questions may be more complicated, more difficult. So just, don't take it, I can relax, I'm fine, I took the practice exam, everything is good. Prepare. And what you can do to prepare. You have 3 areas: the FDA 21 Code of Federal Regulations, and 21 CFR Part 11, which is electronic systems, electronic records, electronic signatures, and ICH E6 R2. So this is the good news. It's not R3, which has been already released by the ICH group, but it's still the one that was released back in 2016. So everybody should know that one. That's the GCP revision 2. You have the candidate handbook. So read the materials, other resources. Know the regulations, not by heart, not to say, yeah, this is in 21 CFR part 56, paragraph this and this and that. Nobody expects that. You are not expected to memorize. Maybe you have an exceptional memory and you do memorize it. Excellent. But if you don't, like most of people, then don't panic. Just understand what the regulation requires. Why do we have? What's the expected interpretation? You will find it many times in the preambles that explain the purpose and the limitations and what is excluded and what is included in the regulation. And the regulation is not a recipe book. So it does not tell you, take 1 cup of this, 2 tablespoons of that, and then guide you step by step how to cook a delicious cake. That's not the case. The regulations tell you the expected outcomes, what the regulators expect you to achieve. The way how you get there, however, may differ in different organizations. And it doesn't mean that a different way is wrong. It's just different. But when you answer the questions in the test, then take the most conservative approach. So put yourself in a conservative shoes and then, take it like, what would be the most rigorous answer? What would be the most probable, most fitting answer? And maybe you don't like stop them. And maybe you will think like, okay, I will combine this and that, and then it's a good answer that I would give. You can't do that. So choose the one that is the best of the offered options. Read the advice of previous candidates. This is a hyperlink. It will take you right there. You need to scroll to the very bottom of the page. Read the questions and the answers carefully. It's very easy to skip a word and then get a different meaning and answer a different question than it is really asked. If it's very long or very complicated and you feel like I need a lot of time for this one, you can skip it and come back later. It's better to miss 2 questions and have all the rest than spending a lot of time on 2 and then missing 20. You can understand the simple math behind it. What's your time? You will have a timer at the top of the screen, so you do not need your wristwatch or you need to put any kind of alert in your phone, but you will have the timer on the top of the screen and you will see, but check it from time to time. So after the first hour, you should be through about 50 questions. And if you are not sure, yes, you may usually exclude 2 answers straight away because they are clearly incorrect. But then for the remaining 2, if you think like, I really have no idea, yes, you have 50% chance you get it right. Try to identify keywords. They will help you to assess which regulations you should consider when answering, apply logic, and see most of the time there are some matching keywords in the correct answer and in the question. Know your strategy. So by now you have been preparing for quite some time and you know what works for you, what doesn't, what makes you feeling calmer, what can stress you. So avoid everything that stresses you. Just, it's very common that you may somehow start feeling like, I'm getting out of time, I'm not going to make it, I'm getting tired, my mind is not working anymore. That's absolutely normal. So close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, just count to 10 if you want, or 200, and then start again, look at it, calm yourself, and don't second guess your answers. Most of the time, your first answer will be correct. And if you start second guessing, it's very likely you are going to make more mistakes than corrections. That's definitely true for myself. So let's talk about analyzing and evaluating. What is the difference? Analyzing is the methodical examination information for purposes of explanation and interpretation. So I analyze to understand the information better, to start making sense, to transform the information into knowledge, if you want to put it this way. And then evaluation is the subsequent critical assessment of authenticity, integrity, compliance level, significance, adequacy, quality of a process, system, physical entity. Again, it sounds complicated. It's taken from your handbook. But think about it. You have a lot of data. You are working with the data to draw out information. When you analyze the information, you get more insights and you are getting knowledge of a process, of something that is done or not done. And then you evaluate it, say, does it meet the requirements of the regulations or does it not? Does it meet the SOP requirements or does it not? What is the significance? Is it something critical? Is it something marginal? So this is the risk-based approach as we are encouraged to take in everything. So what do we analyze and evaluate? Compliance with protocols, procedures, GCP, regulations. Vendor qualifications and suitability. Is this organization and its systems fit for purpose? Can it meet our requirements or my client's requirements regarding quality, capabilities, and so on? Or are there any major gaps that we need to be aware of and ask the organization to address them? Adequacy of auditing resources to complete any contractual obligations. If I'm auditing a vendor, then I would always look at the contract or the scope of work, and then look at their processes, their systems, the knowledge and qualifications of their people, their continuing education, to see, can they really meet the obligations that we want them to meet, the quality criteria, the scope of work. Remediation activities, there are CAPAs, and now we have the answers what the organization is going to do. Are these answers adequate, meaning are the proposed actions likely to eliminate recurrence, to prevent something similar happening? Is it adequate or is it not? Or in other words, is it fit for purpose or is it? And then completeness, accuracy, reliability, validity, study data. We evaluate the informed consent process. Is it strong enough? Does it meet our expectations? Does it respect privacy? Physical and logical security procedures, are they good enough, or are there gaps that may lead to security breaches, privacy leaks, hacking, making systems unavailable? And trends, audit observations over the time, deviations over the time, CAPAs. Are we or the auditee doing the same than before, doing better, doing worse? Hopefully not. There is a package. You can do a trend analysis in simple Excel, but many electronic tools and softwares, they offer the analysis trends, and they can give you some nice graphs, which is very useful. I loved it. Quality and compliance risks. If we continue the way we've been working, is the quality going to be compromised? Is our compliance at risk? And interview responses, do they really answer my questions? Am I satisfied with the answers? So how to analyze? Typically, common sense and basic logic are your best friends. You may look at company policies, SOPs, quality manual, guidelines, ISO standards if applicable. You can take a look at regulations, and you can use different types of analysis, gap analysis, which tells me where I am compared to where I want to be. Ishikawa or fishbowl diagram for complex situations. Root cause analysis that can actually take different approaches. Very favorite is the 5 whys, but don't restrain yourself to 5 questions if you need to ask the 6th or 7th time to get to the true root cause. Many times it happens, and I see it with the auditees. They don't go deep enough. They stay somewhere close to the surface. And logically, unfortunately, any kind of corrective action then does not address the true root cause, meaning the issues are likely to recur. Okay. Failure modes and effects analysis, which is predictive, tells me where are the weak points where something may happen before it does. Trend analysis is also predictive. It can be combined with gap analysis, then you have Pareto, 80-20, combination of all the above. So there are many possibilities. Okay. And is there any question? You may also write it in the chat if you don't want to be recorded. Usually the combination of these approaches gives probably the most satisfactory outcome. And then how do we evaluate? We look at the potential impact on study participant safety, well-being, confidentiality, data quality, study integrity, the data integrity, reliability of study outcomes, conclusions, fulfillment of contractual obligations, including quality, effectiveness of CAPA implementation, regulatory compliance, adherence to procedures and processes of the company. Here I would say, if the procedures and processes are not really well established, I'd rather see the organization deviating from their procedures, but fulfilling the requirements of the regulations than vice versa. Information security, and so on. So is there any impact on any of these? That would be the comparison or the benchmark I'm going to look at and see if the process has any kind of inadequacies or gaps or deficiencies that may jeopardize the outcomes. And as I always say, our goal is to have safe and effective medicinal products for consumers. And decisions should be driven by ethics, critical thinking. And we need to analyze and evaluate information supported by verifiable data. I may have gut feelings, and very often my gut feelings may be actually correct, but I might not have enough verifiable data. And that's the problem. I've seen it a couple of times. I've seen it just as one small example. I used to be in operations, and this is now almost 20 years ago.
That's good.
There was a site that recruited 30 patients in a phase 3 study. It was rheumatoid arthritis, and there were no adverse events reported from this. And we considered that weird. The treatment period was about a year, and no patient had a headache, toothache, any kind of inconvenience, an accident, whatever. It was unusual. It was not real, not what you would expect in a real life. So we were going back to the monitor saying, ask again this site, suspecting underreporting. Finally, we sent an auditor. The auditor came back saying, I have a bad feeling, but I can't grab anything. I can't get the data I need to make an observation. I cannot just say I feel it's wrong, which is true. We cannot say that. So it passed. And the study ended. And in about a couple of months, we got a request from our office in that country saying there is a police investigation. They are asking for the study files to be released. So you can imagine my heart skipped a beat. Like, police investigation for what? Now, long story short, all the patients were invented. None of them existed. There were no patients recruited by this. It was all 100% fraud. I don't understand why a site would do that, because it looked credible enough not to catch easily anything, which is typically more work than having real patients. And if they bothered to create fraudulent data, why not to create fraud adverse events that were actually triggering the kind of feeling of unease? Anyway, it was reported by another physician in the hospital who got annoyed seeing there were no patients for the study, and the investigator was paid and was just acting completely unethically and in a criminal way. So he reported it to the hospital. The hospital took it seriously, started investigation, and when they saw what was happening, they basically filed the case to the police. And I saw that just recently, about a year ago, when a friend of mine, an auditor, was sent for a 4-course audit. Again, there were many invented patients, procedures that never happened. The investigator loses the medical license. Is banned for the lifetime. That one in that country I mentioned ended up in jail. Is it worth? I can't understand that. Why people would choose doing such a thing. It's just beyond my comprehension. But you see, there might be situations where our gut feeling tells us something, and we may not have enough data to take it, to grab it, make it a finding. If that happens, it's not your failure. Don't take it that. That happens, but most of the time, wrongdoings finally are exposed. So that's a kind of comfort for me. I don't know about something going very wrong that would remain hidden forever. It comes to light sooner or later. And we should be supporting by our activities, by establishing good quality processes, by adhering to them, by educating our colleagues, by advising, and all that we were talking about in these study groups, to make strong and good processes and create culture of ethics where people do the right thing just because it's the right thing, not because somebody watches or would tap your shoulder saying, great job. So,
Camilla, Grace had her hand up, so I'm not sure. Grace, do you still have a question?
okay.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment because back in the day, there was some phase 1 facility out in Florida that we have audited the company I worked with at that point, that they were falsifying patients, and they actually got shut down anyway. But one of the things that we did as a company going for these phase 1 facility, which are like healthy subjects, you know, was to the records for personal information, which would be their ID, that will connect them to the source record, which is kept separately. We would actually start looking at that to make sure that they're real patients, to have their actually photo ID that link them to the the source file. Because in the source file is just the subject number. Of course, it's not, you know, anything that to say, as an auditor, we have privy to that, and it would not affect any kind of blinding, but we had to do that.
Good point.
Mm.
And I know about countries where this is by regulations. The site has to have a copy of the ID of the participant. But in places like EU, or under the GDPR, this is very difficult. And you may not have this possibility, or the participants may simply refuse. I haven't seen any new site collecting copies of IDs, unfortunately. And in some countries in the EU, some member states, it's straightforwardly prohibited. So that makes create some challenges if you want to verify, are these real patients or volunteers, or are they not? So remember, the privacy regulations may have a strong effect what you can and what you cannot do, even as an auditor. Let me now start the poll. And as before, you have 5 questions, meaning 5 minutes to answer the questions. So choose your best answer. Remember to take a conservative approach. And when you are done, click submit. And we will go through the questions once we have hopefully most of you or all of you completed this poll.
Mine disappeared.
Disappear.
Okay, it came
Mine
back. I
did
don't know what I
too.
did.
Okay.
But for me, I saw some answers already, and now it's completely blank as if nobody answered.
I'm saying the same thing, Camilla.
The
If you're a
questions just
participant,
came back again. They went away like we were done, and then they came back. So now we're
okay.
answering the questions again. So that's probably why. You probably got the first results because we just got it back again.
Okay.
Okay.
Seems
Thank
like
you.
for some reason the poll ended and relaunched itself accidentally.
Yeah, I did not end it, definitely.
Nor did I, and I don't believe Klaus did either,
No,
so it must
no.
have been something weird going on.
Maybe some short interruption in connection, which we practically didn't notice, but the system does. There are 2 more minutes. Lydia, now it shows me wrong percentage. It does not tell me the total number of people and the percentage who answered. It just gives me the number of answers and it says it's 100%. Behaves a little bit strange today.
What are you seeing on your end? It looks like everybody. That
Yeah,
is odd.
normally I saw the total number of participants in the meeting and the total number of answers, giving me the percentage of people who answered. Now I don't see the total. It just takes the number of answers and says this is 100%.
Yeah.
If you look at the top next to 5 questions, it should
That's
say
what
7 total
exactly.
responses. If you hover over the I, it should say it looks like someone managed to respond using a QR code link. I'm not
Oh,
sure how that happened, but it's changed the
oh,
way the
okay,
poll
okay.
results
Yes,
are set up.
I see it. I see it here. Thank you. we are almost to the time, and so I'm going to end the call. We don't have a huge participation. I see 6 on the computer and 1 using the QR code, which is not a lot. So let me share the results. And Klaus, because I don't see it, is there anyone else from the faculty, or is it just you and me?
I think it's just the 2 of us.
Okay. So would you go to the first one and just tell us your impression from the answers, and which one would you choose?
So basically, it was a site-specific question or situation that was described. So during an audit at a clinical site for a blinded study, the auditors determined that the sponsor sent open unblinded envelopes to the site. The envelopes were maintained in the site regulatory binder. What observation should be written in the auditor's report, if any? And the majority of respondees chose the answer: the envelopes permit undetectable breaks in the study blind at the sites. 3 additional respondees answered the envelopes were not maintained by the blinded investigator in a secure location. So if you read the scenario, the envelopes were put into the regulatory binder, which typically is really to be stored in a safe location. So that's why I think the third response probably doesn't completely reflect the situation, and the correct response would have been response to 1, which was chosen by the majority. So the envelopes permit undetectable breaks in the study blind at the site, which I think describes the situation in the most kind of unbiased way based on the regulation.
I agree. I mean, you can have the envelopes, which are not used very often nowadays, but still they are. You can put them in a safe, for example. But then there is one risk that's very safe. Maybe just one person has the combination or key. What if this person is not there and there is an emergency situation that requires unblinding? It's not possible. And we know that the unblinding should be possible in emergency situations. So making it maybe over secure, that can have different risks. But definitely if the envelopes are not sealed, and usually they should be also not only sealed, but they should be in an envelope that is not transparent. I should not be able to put it against a window or a lamp and see what is inside. I shouldn't. It's like if your bank, which is also nowadays not very often, sends you a new card, say for ATM, and separately sends you a PIN. The PIN should be in an envelope which is special. You might have seen it in your life. The envelope has a kind of additional paper with a pattern inside, which completely prevents any kind of looking through. And the same should go for these envelopes, or at least black folded paper, whatever, that prevents seeing through. So yes, if there could be a possibility to go inside the envelope without breaking any seal or without breaking any kind of barrier, then yes, of course, it permits undetectable breaks. Can I find out? Can I say somebody looked here? No, I would have to take the fingerprints. And even that, 1, I can't easily do. 2, I have never done as an auditor. So let me take the second one. Ongoing non-compliance was discovered for participants not meeting protocol required visit windows. And the primary root cause was that appointments were rescheduled by untrained office staff. 3 of the following remediation activities were implemented by the site. And your task is to evaluate which combination is adequate. Activity 3 or action 3. Discuss the importance of visit compliance. Formal retraining of the office staff. Informing the participants that they should adhere to the visit schedule, or if they need to cancel, do it 24 hours prior. And finally, flag the participants in the appointment system to prevent rescheduling by office staff. So that immediately would say, pay attention, do not reschedule this participant just because this one needs to move here. And I see that one person chose 1, 2, and 3. 4 people, it's the majority, chose 1, 3, and 4. And 3, 1, 2, and 4. Now, what is the correct answer then? Personally, I would choose 1, 2, and 4. Because, okay, it's very nice to tell the participant, if you need to cancel, do it 24 hours in advance. Always something can happen at the last moment. There is a strike, the participants cannot get any taxi, any public transportation, the walking distance, well, it's not a walking distance. And can't get there and finds out an hour before the appointment. Or the participant wakes up in the morning feeling sick. Can that happen? Yes, of course it can. So mandating 24-hour notification is a wishful thinking. So from this point of view, let's say, discuss the importance of visit compliance with candidates and with participants, right when they are being recruited. Remind them why it's important. Then retraining of the office personnel and flagging the participants in the system. So the flagging is a very good way to remind anyone who would be dealing with the schedules. Be careful, don't reschedule this participant. If you need to, or this patient, if you need to, call the investigator or the coordinator and then just discuss. If the rescheduling is still within the visit window, might work, but otherwise no. Would you take the other one, Klaus, please? Number 3.
Of course, give you 1 second. So the situation for number 3 was the storage requirements for an investigational product are documented in the protocol as room temperature 15 to 25 degrees Celsius. Which of the following observations would be reportable audit findings? So I see the majority, 6 out of 8, chose a computerized temperature monitoring system was used to monitor the temperature daily, but what was not reviewed until the end of the study. And that's the choice I would have taken as well. But there are 2 other options that each one your colleague chose. A temperature log was used to document daily checks with temperature ranging from 18 to 23 degrees Celsius. Obviously, the temperature range would have been 15 to 25, so I can understand why this option was chosen, but it just doesn't really describe the situation completely enough, I believe. The third option that was chosen by one person is a minimum maximum temperature device was used to monitor temperatures. That's not necessarily an issue, I think, in general, as long as it really captures minimum maximum temperatures, and obviously it needs to be initialed and also dated, the entries. But in general, using just a minimum maximum temperature device is in general fine, as long as the other good documentation practices are really adhered to.
Yeah, the question is, which of the following observations would be a reportable audit finding? So read the sentence as a description of what happened, what was observed at the site. And the only answer is actually, yes, you have a wonderful temperature monitoring system, but it's not reviewed. And that's a problem. So what's the point of measuring it continuously? Nobody looks at the recording. Nobody looks at the data. Nobody looks if there was an excursion or not. So that would be a finding. During a sponsor audit, the auditor finds original, fully executed informed consent forms from an ongoing trial in an unlocked file cabinets in the hallway. What is the auditor's observation? The original signed informed consent form should be maintained at the CRO. I'm happy nobody chose that. FDA regulations require all study records to be stored in fireproof cabinets. The original signed informed consent form should be maintained at the investigator institution location. FDA regulations require all study records to be stored in locked file cabinets. While, yes, the cabinets should be walkable and ideally fireproof. But what's the problem? The signed informed consent, meaning there is the participant name, maybe even the participant address, phone number, other identifiable sensitive information, that should never leave the site. That's it. So if it's not at the site, if it's maintained by whoever else, a CRO, as the sponsor, a vendor, you name it, that's a finding, because it should never leave the site. Copy goes to the participant. They should keep it safe. You know that anything can happen. They can, of course, share it with their family, with their friends. They can make inappropriate posts on Facebook or other social media. They should be, of course, instructed to keep the information about the study confidential, but you cannot control it 100%, as you can imagine. But what you can and should control, and what the site should control, that they remain sole custodian of the original information of the site. And we are going to the last question. Would you be so kind, Klaus?
Yeah. So a sponsor has tight timelines. It needs to get the clinical trial sites ready for screening and participant enrollment. The sponsor first submitted regulatory and IRB applications, then supplied investigators with investigational product with instructions to hold until further instructions, and finally confirmed regulatory and IRB approvals. What is the auditor's observation? So response 1 would have been the sponsor should have conducted the site initiation visit at the same time investigational product was provided. Choice 2 was the sponsor should not supply the site with IP until they have confirmed IRB approval. And this was chosen by all of the respondees. And then Option 3 would have been no observation. The sponsor is responsible for supplying the investigational product. Option 4 would have been the sponsor should have supplied investigators with investigational product before submitting to the IRB. But as you can see, all of the respondees answered correctly. So IP should really never been dispensed to clinical sites before a site has received institutional review board ethics committee approval. And so the decision was made correctly by all respondees, and I think it reflects really what's really required by regulatory statutes.
Yes, and I would add, this is just a format of discussion, that from my point of view, one thing is the IRB approval. In some countries, depending on their regulations, maybe also the regulatory authority approval or any other approvals that might be mandated in that country, and executed contract with the site.
I mean,
Because,
it's typically really a whole package, right? You would also look at PI, CV, medical license, etc. Ideally, you would want to have a whole package of documents, including IRB approval, to really allow site shipment of IP to occur.
exactly, the first shipment typically requires review of the regulatory package for completeness, consistency, and so on. Subsequent resupplies, they are easy. They are just administrative request or seeing the trigger level is met, and then the resupply goes. But the first authorization, that should not go before all the required documents are in place and they have been reviewed, and there should be a written authorization for the first shipment. So the process should not be identical to simpler resupplies. It may differ, just for the sake of completeness of discussion, if there is a country depot used. So that depot may receive the IP before site initiation, before executed contracts with the sites. I would still say not before IRB approval. But then it's the depot that holds the supply and supplies the sites when they are ready and when they are authorized to use. So there might be slightly different scenarios, but the IRB approval is crucial. What if the study is not approved? Or what if the contract is not signed? What are you going to do? So that would be a situation presenting high risk, non-compliance, and potential damage or and waste of the investigational product. So let me stop sharing the results. Close the call. You will again have all the answers in your handouts. But let me go quickly through. We wish you good luck. And let me stop sharing to see you because I feel like I'm talking to myself, which is not very convenient. So use this last moments if you have any questions, if you have any comment or any example you would like to share, any experience. Just go ahead, unmute yourself, or write in the chat if you prefer.
I can see where I erred. I've taken the test before. I think I overthink the answers because I know the answer and then I tend to overthink the answer. So it makes sense because I do it every day, but just going back and rethinking it and not overthinking my answer.
Yeah, it's like second guessing my answers. It's similar, like it's not like questioning myself and then usually come to the wrong conclusion. That's not unusual. Lydia, do you have any last words for this group?
Unfortunately not. I'm, it's my job just to handle the logistics and everything, but I will say good luck.
Yeah, we all wish you good luck. And please
Cam-
let us
Camilla.
know. Yes.
Sorry, it's Elmi here. I just want to know, when I write the examination, how long, or will I get the result immediately when I'm finished, or how long will it take to get the result if you've passed or not?
It takes about 2 weeks to the best of
2
my
weeks.
knowledge.
Okay.
It actually
Okay.
typically happens immediately after you've taken the exam. If you're taking it at a testing center, it may appear immediately or maybe an hour or so later, unless there's something
Okay.
going on with exam updates,
Okay.
then which is not happening this exam cycle. You should see it either immediately or within an hour or two in that Pearson VUE
Okay.
in that Pearson VUE portal. And I will say, if it's not there immediately, it's not as if it's going to be emailed to you. You would have to go into the portal and look under your exam results to see if it's there.
They usually
Okay,
give me a
thank you.
printout. They give me a printout before I leave the
Okay.
testing center.
Okay.
Yes, that's often the case if you're taking it via OnView or if there's some slight delay at the testing center, then it should be in your portal within an hour or two, and you would go in and look at that.
Thank
That's
you.
interesting. That's what I also thought all the time. But one of my mentees last fall went for the exam, and she did not have a chance to know, and she went to a testing center, and yet she was notified about 2 weeks later in a letter about the outcome.
Mhm.
Do you think it may differ from one country to another and practices followed by one testing center versus another?
It shouldn't. What I would say is that perhaps it was available to her. I don't recall that there was any delays with last year's exam, but I may be forgetting. If there is something going on in an exam cycle where we are trying out a new testing form that needs to be validated statistically, there may be a delay in the answer because we are waiting until the exam period is finished, looking at the results from everyone who took the exam during that period to do that evaluation and equivalence. But if that was not what happened, it may have been that her result was available in the portal and she did not realize, because there is not a specific notification that your exam result is available in the portal. It's just there, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. I still have the WhatsApp conversation where
Yes.
she was sending pictures of the letters she received. So
In that case, it may have been an issue in which the exam results were delayed, or it may have been, like I say, that the results were available to her, but she did not realize they were available because there was no notification of their availability until she got that letter afterward. But if someone does have a question about how or when their results are available, or if you leave the testing center and you wait an hour or two and you still don't see your results, please feel free to reach out to me at rqap@sqa.org, and I will help you look into that situation.
Thank you, Lydia.
the most
Absolutely.
important thing is that it should be available immediately because that gives you practically the answer you are waiting for. And passing a long exam or going for a long exam and then waiting and waiting to see did I pass, did I not pass, that's an awful feeling. So you should know. That's the good part. You should know, and we wish you the best of success. And please share your feedback on the study group connect page. What was your experience, what you learned through the preparation and the feel of the exam, your expectations and maybe challenges. It's very helpful with your colleagues in the future. So please be generous and do not keep it for yourself. And if you are willing to write a short testimony, how it goes, then it would be wonderful. And after the exam period, you will receive a questionnaire from Lydia about the exam, about these study groups. So please answer that one. Do not just neglect it, because we need it. We need to know what helped you, what didn't help you, what worked, what didn't work, what suggestions you may have. That's invaluable. So please complete that and be completely honest. We don't need flattering words. We need the truth.
Hi, this is Alex. So I heard someone say they were in Florida. Was that you, Melody?
I think it was Grace.
Oh, it was Grace. Okay. Never mind. Thank you.
Good luck,
Thank
guys.
you. Any last question? Willing to stay a minute more? If not, then wish you the best of success. And looking forward to read your feedback and to read your testimonial.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Camilla. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.